Okay, so this is problem 2.2.31, and they're asking us to graph the equation by plotting points. They give us some points they want us to use, and then the equation y cubed equals 4x. Okay, alright, so we're looking at this equation, and they're just asking us to plot via plotting points. The points that they want us to use, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and those are x values. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make an xy chart, and I'm going to let x be each of these values. And what we'll do is we will just plug those values in to our equation and find the corresponding y values. Okay, so for instance, when x is a -3, if I plug in x equals -3 into this equation up here, then I have y cubed equaling 4 times -3. Okay, so that is y cubed equaling a -12. Now, we're going to have to use a cube root here to find out what the cube root of -12 is. Because if we want to find out what just y is, we'd have to take the cube root to get just y. So we end up here with y equaling the cube root of -12. And it depends on the calculator that you're using, but you just need to find a calculator that can give you a cube root. So my calculator, I don't know, will be quite a bit different. Another thing that you can do here, actually, because this may be easier for some people to find this button on their calculator, remember that a cube root of something is actually the same thing as having a fractional exponent. So you could, for instance, take a -12 and take that to the power of 1/3. And the 1 is coming from the exponent here, and the 3 is your cube root there. So you can do it either way. You can plug it into your calculator as the cube root of -12 if you can find that button in your calculator. If you can't find that button, you can usually find the fraction button, okay, and the exponent button. So this you would plug in -12, and you would take it to the exponent of 1/3. Okay, I think I'll just do it this way, and there's really no point in me showing you my calculator because everybody's got a different calculator. So just do whatever works on your calculator, and you'll end up getting about a -2.3 here or so. I get a -2.289, but we'll just call it a -2.3. Okay. All right, and then let's do the rest of these in the same manner. So let's plug in x equals -2. So when x equals -2 and we're looking at y cubed equaling 4x, then we're looking at y cubed equaling 4 times -2. So we have y cubed equals -8. And again, if we can use the cube root on both sides, that will allow us to get the y. The cube root of a -8 is actually just a -2. You don't really need to use calculator to find that. It's because -8 is actually -2 cubed, and so when you get your exponent and your index to match, it'll just pop out here as a -2. Okay, so we'll have the point -2, 2. Let's do x equals -1. So y cubed equals 4 times -1. So y cubed equals a -4, and again, cube root of both sides, so y is equal to the cube root of -4, which I'll just go ahead and find that on my calculator. So -4 cube root and I get here a -1.587, so let's just call it a -1.6. Okay, so this would be a -1.6. Alright, when we plug in 0, I mean, you know, plug in 0 right here, you're going to get 0, so your y coordinate will be 0. And then when we plug in these values right here, they should actually be the positive values of these. So if I plug in 1, I'm looking at the cube root of 4. I mean, let me just show it to you, just one of them. So x equals 1, I have y cubed equals 4 times 1. So y cubed equals 4, and then you're taking the cube root of both sides. So you have y equals the cube root of 4. Now, you can plug that in, but you're just going to get the same number as here. It's just going to be a positive sign instead of a negative sign because it's positive. Okay, so you can verify that on your calculator if you need to. But instead of actually going through and having to work all of these, so this would be y equals 1.6. Let's just flip these signs. So this is 1.6. This is going to be a positive 2, and this one right here will be a positive 2.3. Okay. And then what we're doing is we are just drawing the graph of this. And actually they gave you multiple choice there to try and pick the graph that will fit the best. So let's see if we can actually go through them and take a look at what's feasible. All right, well, the first thing is you can see that B and D are not options because when we have negative x values, we have negative y values. And so B and D aren't going to work because for a negative x here, we're having positive. For a negative x here, we're having positive. So B and D are out. Okay. And then if you take a look at it, C is also out because when we have positive x values, we should have positive because of the coordinates that we have down here. So C is out. So A is going to be your answer there, but if you were just wanting to graph it without, you know, choosing from multiple choice, you would simply just plot these points. And since it is a cube root graph, it is going to be a squiggle graph that's on its side. So for instance, -3, -2.3 would be right about there. -2 is right about there. -1, -1.6. Then we've got 0, 0, 1, 1.6, 2, 2, and 3 and 2.3. Kind of looks like it might be linear, but it's not. It'll end up squiggling. So it goes like this. Okay? And for the graphs that they gave you, that would have been graph A. All right.